It's time for 515 Fantasy Football.
I know football. Are you ready for some football?
Domination on Sundays begins with listening to these guys on Thursdays.
You ready for this?
Over 40 years of fantasy football experience between them.
Yeah!
One is a proud veteran of the United States Marine Corps, husband and father, entering his 19th year of fantasy competition. Brian Eikenberry. The other, also a proud husband and father, is one of the winningest fantasy minds in the state. Celebrating 25 years of excellence, Andy Hall.
Let's get the game on!
It's showtime. The 515 Fantasy Football Show with your hosts, Andy Hall and Brian Eikenberry.
Greetings, salutations. If draft day were akin to Christmas morning, a day like today, in which games begin to count again, probably as close to reaching nirvana as Siddhartha Gautama did back in the day. Hello, friends.
I don't even know what you just said.
Siddhartha Gautama, Brian. Come on.
Got it.
Buddha.
Wrote it down right here.
Reached nirvana. Hello, friends. Our first in-season show of the 2017-2018 campaign. Andy Hall alongside Brian Eikenberry. Today's the day, my friend.
It is indeed. Thank you for helping us get to this point. We couldn't have done it without you, the listeners, and we're happy to now carry you through the rest of the season.
No matter how you found us, Apple Podcasts, formerly known as iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, online at espndesmoines.com, or on the air at 1350 AM ESPN Radio, Des Moines, Iowa. We can't thank you enough for giving us your valuable time. Our promise to you, aside from the best content available, is to return the favor and invest in you. You take the time out of your day to listen, reach out, ask a question, start a conversation, an argument. You will never be ignored. We love talking football. And again, can't thank you enough for entrusting us to not only inform you with the best intel as we do, but entertain as well. Brian, the grind is back upon us again.
Yeah, it's real. Apparently, we didn't get any interns like I had requested. And here we are, back to doing it all ourselves. I guess we were humbled by everyone's lack of interest in being our stats people. So great. Yes, love it. Get on it. But here's how we help people. This is where we make a difference.
It's true. Over the next hour and change, Brian and I will break down every matchup, grading the fantasy relevant players, have some fun fighting it out in the pop quiz, give you our first round of bargain bin picks, and talk about week one of the inaugural 515 Fantasy Listener League, presented by Iowa Firecracken. Iowa owned, Iowa operated, America approved. Come December 1, sales of beautiful things that go boom will once again be open to all Iowans of all shapes and sizes. We hope that when you look to stock up on fireworks, you'll choose a business run by three local guys that happen to love football as much as you do. That's Iowa Firecracken, Brian.
Yeah, it is, man. I'll be the first one in line. I'm that guy in the neighborhood. Come get it.
Second in line, right here.
Yeah. We'll talk about that. I have something special for the flea flicker.
I like it. Let's start, as we always do, with some headlines of Fantasy Note. We have to start with Ezekiel Elliott, Brian. There's a number of headlines here, but arbitrator Harold Henderson, who I think also handled the Ray Rice case a couple years ago, if I'm not mistaken, has upheld the NFL's 6-game suspension. However, Ezekiel Elliott will be on the field on Sunday as the Cowboys take on the Giants. Brian, how is this possible?
If I know.
It sounds like poppycock.
Yeah, I'm very confused at what's going on. I think the NFLPA is going to try and file a bunch of injunctions and all sorts of crazy stuff. I mean, I was really surprised that it was upheld. I was the biggest person who's saying, nope, he's done 6 weeks. There's no, bargaining with domestic violence. Get prepared. I was talking about that 2 months ago, practically.
Yeah, and I was on board with that. I said, I think they want to make an example of him.
Yeah, and then some of the leaks started coming out where some of the initial investigators were like, no games, recommending no games. So I'm like, well, he's going to get off. There's people in his corner that are in the investigative team. But at the end of the day, it don't matter. In a court case, you can't take into account future events. So let's say you get busted for a DUI 3 times in 3 weeks. but you go to court after it's all done for your first DUI, they can't count those things you did after this one as evidence. So in the NFL's case, the pulling down of the shirt of women, all this other stuff, they can take that into consideration.
The reason he's playing this Sunday in week 1 is because the NFL dragged its feet, plain and simple.
Yep.
And they had a deadline to meet. They couldn't meet it.
And they didn't.
So he gets paid. He's going to play. Now, if this 6-game suspension does end up becoming a reality for Ezekiel Elliott, it might be served as soon as week 2. But my theory is, I think where you were headed on this, they're going to drag this thing out.
Which is terrible for you, the fantasy owner. Terrible. So let's say it gets to week 5, and all of a sudden, all right, well, his suspension is live now. 6 is their bye week, so 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Hi, right into your playoff run.
Whoops.
Yep.
Whoops.
And
you
that
just hosed the back end of your season.
But you don't know. It could also go past this season. He could get through the entire season and not have to serve any suspension.
I don't think it'll go there. I think outside factors, aka public and all the other stuff that the goodwill NFL does, I think you're gonna get it. It's gonna be week 2 through 8.
It's America's team, Brian. What are they going to do to America's team? Nothing.
Well, quit drafting and trading for women beaters, I guess.
Hey, wow. All righty. Big news out of Florida with Hurricane Irma expected to hit the peninsula at some point this weekend. Sunday's Tampa Bay-Miami game has been postponed to week 11 when both teams were scheduled to have their bye. What do you think of having to play 16 consecutive weeks, Brian?
I think if you own any of these top-notch players, which you likely do from Tampa Bay, you need to have some backup plans in the second half of the season. Injury is a concern. Fatigue is a concern. And this was an absolute terrible decision.
I think maybe it might have been the only way to get there was no real great answer to this. The only option I heard that was out there, but I don't know if they just logistically couldn't get it together, is hosted at a neutral site at an NFL stadium. Think New Orleans, think Philadelphia was the other one that I heard.
Which, that doesn't sit well with me because you're the NFL. You have more money than the United States of America. Get it done. Pay the extra people. Pay the quadruple rate to get it done. I mean, the stadium's set up. Oh, well, you don't have beer concessions. It's a free game anyways. They're not going to even charge ticket sales for it. Just get it done.
Or charge ticket sales and donate it all to hurricane relief.
Yeah, just get it done.
That was my idea. I think it really sucks for Miami. I read somewhere they have to go from L.A. to New York to London following this week 1 bye.
Yeah, that's miserable.
That's awful.
It's terrible.
Giants wide receiver Odell Beckham remains day-to-day with an ankle injury. He's questionable for Sunday. He was on the practice field very briefly yesterday. I don't know if we're going to see him on the field this week, Brian. I think if they're doing the smart thing, it's sit him and get him healthy. That's what I think.
Not going to happen.
You think he's going to be out there?
Yeah, 100%.
All righty. Colts have officially ruled quarterback Andrew Luck out of this week's lineup. Scott Tolzien will start. I think we all knew that was coming. Ravens head coach Jim Harbaugh claims quarterback Joe Flacco is, quote, ready to roll, unquote, for week 1. A little bit of concern there for, I think it was a back issue for Joe Flacco.
Yeah, it was. But look, at the end of the day, you got to go. It's time to play football. It's time to get paid.
Strap it on, buddy.
Whoa.
Bills head coach Sean McDermott says Tyrod Taylor will start week 1 despite recovering from a concussion. Bears have named rookie quarterback Mitch Trubisky as their number 2 behind Mike Glennon. Chiefs running back Kareem Hunt will be the featured back in tonight's game against the Patriots, according to multiple reports. Now, there has been some steam out there that he's going to be splitting carries. I don't buy it. I think they're trying to misdirect them Patriots.
Yeah, I do too.
He's the guy. Bengals have listed Jeremy Hill as their starting running back, Gio Bernard at number 2, Joe Mixon at number 3. You know that order is going to flip come about week 4 or 5. That's my prediction.
Well, wow. I wasn't really expecting that. I wasn't expecting Mixon to be at the bottom. I wasn't expecting both Gio and Jeremy Hill to be there. So the question is why? Why is it like that? What's going on there? Are those people who drafted Joe Mixon in the second round going,
Yeah, see, I wouldn't have reached that far for him.
There were.
That's crazy.
People
I wouldn't
were
have done
getting
that.
a little anxious.
I think, with rookies, though, we always talk about this. Like, there are things intangible things like
Is he not a good pass blocker?
pass protection. That's a huge factor that fantasy
Got to
owners...
keep the Red Rocket upright.
Wow. All right. From strap it on to the Red Rocket. Great. Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll says Eddie Lacy is, quote, ready for a full load, unquote, if needed, week one.
Food?
Yeah, right. That's a full buffet, old country style. Running back Thomas Rawls questionable for Sunday's game at Green Bay. Procise, he's healthy and ready to go, so he should contribute, especially in the passing game. Jets running back Matt Forte practicing in full. He expects a decent workload against the Bills, which is gross because Bilal Powell's the guy. Come on, guys, figure it out. Eagles head coach Doug Peterson says the team expects wide receiver Alshon Jeffrey to be shadowed by Washington's stud cover corner Josh Norman. Talk about that in the matchups upcoming. And Niners rookie tight end George Kittle, my sleeper of the year at the tight end position, nursing a sore hamstring that may limit him this weekend. Brian and I diving right into the matchups, beginning with tonight's Thursday night matchup next on the 515 Fantasy Football Show. You are listening to the 515 Fantasy Football Show on 1350 AM ESPN Radio, Des Moines, Iowa. We're also on iTunes/Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Stitcher, on Google Play, and a host of other places, Brian. We're also on Patreon in case you're interested in contributing to the show that way, and we can offer some pretty sweet perks.
patreon.com, search 515 Fantasy Football. I mean, some of the perks are pretty simple. The first level of contributions get you the bargain bins 24 hours early, so you can go out there and snipe them from anyone out there on the waiver wire. As soon as everybody clears, you'll have the information. Second level, you get that, plus you get an hour of our time on Sunday mornings to kind of make your starts and sits. And then the third level of contribution is you get both of those, but then you get the Saturday night special where we're going to give you a weekly roster overhaul and really give you some in-depth conversation about what's going on with your team and how to make the moves to win.
That's the way to do it. You can also find us on 515 Fantasy Football on Facebook, at 515 Fantasy on Twitter. I'm at Andy Hall Radio. He's at IkeFFB, IKEFFB. Thursday night football, Brian, the official season opener. It is Kansas City at New England. We'll begin on the Chiefs side of the ball. Alex Smith, I'm leaving on the bench, probably looking at some garbage time success. You don't need to worry about starting him. Even in a two-quarterback or super flex leagues, I wouldn't bother. Kareem Hunt. A lot of talk about Kareem Hunt. How's he going to do here? I'm giving him a C grade, Brian. This might be his toughest matchup of the season against the Patriots front seven that ranked third in total yards allowed to opposing runners. Gave up the league's least amount of rushing touchdowns at only 6. None of those in the final 8 weeks of 2016, by the way. Malcolm Brown, Allen Branch, stud interior guys for the Patriots. Word out of Kansas City is that the Chiefs will likely employ a committee approach tonight. I'm not buying that. Maybe Charkandrick West gets a few touches in relief of Kareem Hunt, but one facet of Hunt's game I do think could work is pass-catching ability. New England gave up the third most receiving yards to running backs last season, so best I say Hunt is a flex, but only in PPR leagues, and you may have better options there. Tyreek Hill's a C+. Always a threat to nab a long ball, as we saw him do multiple times last season, but he draws a bad matchup against stud corner Malcolm Butler, one of the league's best. I do see a decent amount of targets for Hill in this game, but his success is largely dependent on his ability to reach the end zone, so there is some risk there. Travis Kelce, a B-, caught 6 passes for only 23 yards when these two teams met in January 2016. We know Bill Belichick likes to scheme to take away an opponent's biggest threat. That may be Kelce, who likely sees a decent amount of volume in this one because the Chiefs won't be able to run the ball, and they will need to throw a lot to keep up. But his chances of scoring kind of iffy considering New England gave up only a total of 4 touchdowns to the tight end position in 2016, and that'll do it for the Chiefs. Over to the Patriots side. Tom Brady, easy A, threw for over 300 yards, a couple of touchdowns a couple of years ago in the last head-to-head at Foxborough. He should be in line for at least that tonight. Mike Gillislee, I'll give a B grade to. The Chiefs gave up the 7th most rushing yards to opponents last season, allowing nearly 4.5 yards per carry, a total of 10 rushing touchdowns. Gillislee projects nicely in a matchup that figures to have positive game script. He's also expected to handle much of the red zone work. We'll see. Brandon Cook's a B+. Gut tells me Cook will likely line up on the opposite side of cornerback Marcus Peters, who always lines up on the same side of the field. He's not a shadow guy. Kansas City's other cover guys are below average. I think Cooks comes out of the gate swinging in his debut as a Patriot. Chris Hogan, a C+, flashed nicely following the Edelman season-ending injury. Should get a decent percentage of the vacated target share, but will be touchdown dependent much of the season, which is why I'm tempering my expectations for him until we actually see how and where he's targeted. And finally, Rob Gronkowski, I'll give an A grade to. He caught both of Brady's touchdown passes in the January 2016 meeting between these two teams that I mentioned earlier. He's healthy as long as he's been in a while, has a couple of field stretchers in Cooks and Hogan that'll open up the middle of the field, and the Chiefs don't have anybody that can match up with the Gronk physically.
All right, looks like it's my turn. I think you've been practicing. Have you been practicing this? Just in the shower, you're running through stuff?
Maybe I'm just so excited to be back.
You put in a lot of effort into some week 1 conversation.
I'm telling you, buddy. I want my people to win.
All right. So quarterback for the New York Jets, Josh McCown, C+. We don't know how anything is going to go as far as the Jets, so I am extremely concerned starting any Jet week 1. And that is just the absolute bottom line. And you should be looking at your roster. If you're starting a Jet on week 1, you need to think about consulting us first. You need to reach out, Twitter, Patreon. Get it done because you need some help. I surely wouldn't bet against the Bills' pass defense and the Jets being on the road. It's not a good situation or risk I would want to take in week 1. So Josh McCown, just C+, leave him on the bench. Running back Bilal Powell, you kind of heard in the headlines, Forte's expecting workload. I'm not concerned about it. I'm giving Bilal Powell a B. He's likely the only reliable piece of offense that's going to score you points on your fantasy roster. I don't see him ever going for 150 and 2 touchdowns, but should have a decent game against the Bills defense that gave up 133 on the ground last year per game. Forte, like I said, I think this is just, it's not going to be one of those years for him. I mean, come on. What is he, 47 now?
Well, and a rumor had it that they were trying to shop him.
Yeah.
So what that signaled to me was that he might not even be on roster come day 1, but here he is.
Well, I definitely don't see him as a contributing factor. Playing from behind, pass situations only. It's the end of the track for Forte anyways. Wide receiver Robbie Anderson, B. Looked bad on limited targets in preseason, but maybe he's going to be that sneaky play. Regardless, if he's your week 1 starter, you may be in trouble. Did you have?
I'd say.
Yeah.
But you're giving him a B grade. That ain't bad.
Well, someone has to catch the ball, so
That's
he has to produce.
absolutely
And
true.
if you're looking at it, a B grade is probably 70 yards, and probably going to be a touchdown in there somewhere. So yeah, that's a realistic B grade for Robbie Anderson. Wide receiver Jermaine Kearse, I didn't realize he was still in the league.
Oh, he got traded from Seattle. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't.
And then
realize
that trade sent Sheldon Richardson over to Seattle.
Yeah,
from the Jets.
So C+, low expectations from the veteran. I mean, if you're coming from an offense like Seattle into an offense like that, like the Jets, that's a night and day difference for me anyway. So I wouldn't be starting Jermaine Kearse on week 1. Headed over to the Bills side of the ball, quarterback Tyrod Taylor. You heard it. The concussion is over with. I think Tyrod's going to be boom or bust every single week. Decent points on the ground with his legs, average through the air. Wide receivers are too risky right now. It's Shady's team from a leadership and a point-producing fantasy outlook for me. So LaShawn McCoy, he's obviously going to get this A grade here. He's going to account for about 60% of total offense. I guarantee it on this team.
The coach just came out and said, we'll give it to him as many times as we need to.
Yeah, great. So that's awesome if you're a McCoy owner. Let's hope he stays healthy and repeats his year from last year. That's my concern.
That's a
big asterisk there. Jordan Matthews, B-. Never been a fan of the guy. Not surprised, by all this potential that he's having for low scores. I would defer elsewhere, but if he's going to score, it's going to be up against the Jets, so this may be his best game of the year. Zay Jones, I'm going to give a B+ to, and really it's for the flash in the pan. Defenses really haven't seen his full skill set on display as the outside threat going full speed, so I like Zay Jones as a week 1 start in a deep league. If you have to start these 3 wide receiver sets, it's a 12-team league. I don't think Zay Jones is a bad start for you.
Yeah, if you're in a league of 14, 16, 20 teams for sure, that's a guy that you definitely want to throw a dart at.
Yeah,
Zay
absolutely.
Jones is a guy that he set a record in the FBS last season for career receptions. So this is a guy that catches a lot of passes, and I think it's going to be the same in Buffalo. Jordan Matthews has never been a volume guy. He's more of a chain mover. But, Zay Jones could be that game breaker they've been waiting for. You know, they thought they had it in Sammy Watkins. He just couldn't stay healthy. So no Charles Clay for you, I guess.
No, I did not hit up the tight ends that much this weekend or this week.
You're an ASJ apologist. Why not?
Well, so I was doing this matchup. I'm like, should I put him in here? Because if there's any year ASJ is going to get some points, it's going to be this year.
He's also suspended to start the year, so there's that.
So whatever.
I can't stand
I'm skipping kind of all tight ends this go around because, I mean, you're not streaming tight ends, are you?
Some do.
That's ridiculous.
If they couldn't get a Gronk or Travis Kelce, they might consider streaming.
That's just silly. Stop it.
It's a different kind of strategy. It's not the one I employ, I'll tell you that. Philadelphia at Washington. Start with the Eagles. Carson Wentz, a B grade. Washington, not very good in pass coverage last season. They gave up the 8th most passing yards to opposing quarterbacks, a total of 22 passing touchdowns. As I'm sure you're aware, the Skins secondary is only as good as its second best cover guy. That's not very good. The Eagles will want to establish the run here, but may fall behind and revert to the nearly record-setting passing team they became midway through last season. LeGarrette Blount, I'll give a C grade to. Washington, not a great run defense last season, allowing over 4.5 yards per carry, a total of 19 scores on the ground. Blount isn't going to rack up a ton of yards in this one by virtue of his lack of elusiveness, but if you're starting him, you've got to be banking on a score or more. I think the Eagles are more closely resemble the team we saw much of last season, throwing a lot more than running, personally, as I alluded to in talking about Wentz. Darren Sproles, I'll give a C+ to. One guy that should benefit from more passing is Sproles, who should be the more productive back on the whole, but not by a ton. Alshon Jeffrey mentioned in the headlines. The steam from our nation's capital is that stud cover corner Josh Norman will be shadowing Alshon Jeffrey, which does not bode well for his chances this week. And this is merely the first of several really tough matchups for Jeffrey in 2017.
Can I honestly just interrupt for 1 second on Josh Norman? Yeah. I hope this is the year he just nosedives like Richard Sherman did last year.
It could happen.
Just absolutely terrible.
Yeah, there's a bunch of these guys that were studs at one point.
They're getting old.
Yeah.
They're getting old, and it's going to catch up with them this year.
Yeah.
I hope. I just like to see it.
Darrelle Revis comes to mind.
Whoa.
Zach Ertz, I'll give an A grade to, because the Skins are dedicating so much of their coverage scheme toward stopping and slowing Jeffrey. Ertz should get a ton of work on Sunday. When Ertz is fed, Ertz gets satisfied. Start him with confidence. Over to Washington, Kirk Cousins, a B+. He's looking to light up the scoreboard and the Eagles secondary early and often. A subpar run game means more passing for Cousins and company. I feel like he's actually excited to take some of his shiny new toys for a spin this weekend. Robert Kelly, I'm going to give a C+ to. Kind of a middling grade. I don't like him much this week unless the Skins were to get down near the goal line. And even then, he's not a home run play for me. Terrell Pryor, an A grade. He's about to put on a display, Brian. Terrell Pryor. Got a little slow there in the preseason.
Look,
people got worried.
Well, no, man.
Yeah, it happened.
Preseason does not matter.
I agree. I think people, though, you saw him slip in ADP. I mean, people were letting him slide. And
fine, I'll take him all day long.
Top 12 for me, no doubt about it. Cousins will look for him early and often. I'm not sure any of the Eagles cover guys can handle his combination of strength and size. Jamison Crowder, I'll give a B grade to. A great PPR option. Should see plenty of targets as he did last season, and if he happens to reach the end zone once or more, bonus. And finally, Jordan Reed, I'll give a C grade to. As great as he is, I hate his foot, and I hate this matchup. The Eagles were downright dominant against opposing tight ends last season, allowing the least amount of receiving yards to the position in the league. Only 4 touchdowns were scored on them all year by tight ends. Jordan Reed, not a great start, but you drafted him to be your starter, so you're probably playing him. Just take it from me. It's a tough matchup. And speaking of matchups, Brian and I have a lot more to get to in this episode of the show. We got the pop quiz still on the way, bargain bin picks, a whole lot of great conversation. We'll probably fight at some point, too. We haven't done too much disagreeing yet. It'll come. It's the 515 Fantasy Football Show on 1350 AM ESPN Radio. This is the 515 Fantasy Football Show on 1350 AM ESPN Radio, Des Moines, Iowa. Again, we're on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, ESPNDesMoines.com. We're all over the place. I'm Andy Hall. That's Brian Eikenberry. More Week 1 matchups. We begin with Brian.
Super excited to bring you this one all the way from Andy's place. Jacksonville at Houston. Quarterback Blake Bortles. Giddy up, partner. Leave him on the bench. C+. Literally nothing good to say here. He nearly lost his job in the preseason, right?
Is he a bench or a C+?
Well, look, you got to give him some sort of grade, right?
So you're giving him a grade, but yeah, don't start him.
Yeah, but no.
I agree.
I mean, come on. Nearly lost his job in the preseason, and the only reason he kept it is because the other guy was even worse.
Chad
So,
Henne was bad.
Yeah, problem number 2. Also, going against the top 10 defense, 5th best in passing last year. So, I'm sorry. Whoops, wrong way. I was going the wrong way. See,
Oh, yeah?
I'm out of practice here.
So you were talking about Jacksonville then.
Yeah,
Because
so
they
I
were pretty good
flipped
against
it.
the pass.
Yeah, but anyways, looks like the coaches couldn't get it done here, moving any quarterbacks, getting anything out of him. So, yeah, that's a move on from Bortles. Fournette, B. Look, foot's an issue, not going to lie. His entire career rests on that foot, and let's hope he can be the long-term answer for the Jags, but please, dear Lord, snag a TJ Yeldon if he's still out there, and if you are that Fournette owner, you better have TJ Yeldon in the back. Also, then your first game is against the Texans. Great.
Run right into Jadeveon Clowney or J.J. Watt.
Yeah, and you know they're going to play hungry this week. You know they're playing for Texas.
Jadeveon hungry.
Terrible. Wide receiver Allen Robinson, I'm going to give him a B+. People have to catch the ball. He's got the skill to do it. He had that below-average year last year, possibly the same in line for this year. Everything rests on Bortles for scoring here. I think Fournette helps him out a little bit. They can't always push everybody back into double coverage. So I think it's a good place for him. Oh, by the way, it's a contract year for him.
Ooh.
So he has to be aggressive. Be aggressive.
Nice.
Wide receiver Marquise Lee. I think he's going to try and outshine Robinson here. I think he's going to be pushing for that number 1 thing here. Also, I wouldn't be surprised to see this team in London in the next 2 or 3 years. So
I've heard that too.
Watch out for that. Especially if Allen Robinson's getting that extra coverage, Marquise Lee could be picking up some of those extra grabs. But let's just not count on
Maybe
any
a few
of that.
quick dumps too.
Yeah, maybe a few quick dumps off to Marquise Lee. Watch out for that. On to the Houston side of the ball, quarterback Tom Savage. Again, look, if these are your starting quarterbacks, it's not a good situation for you right now.
There's an NFL game this week in which Jared Goff is facing off against Scott Tolzien.
Yikes.
That's an NFL game for you. Week 1.
This isn't Madden.
Holy crap.
This isn't, this is real life.
I'm sorry.
Right?
I know you don't like Colin Kaepernick, but oh my God. How Colin Kaepernick does not have a job when Jared freaking Goff is taking on Scott Tolzien in an NFL game. Give me a break.
Here I thought we were going to have a whole season without going down this road.
I knew it'd set you off too.
All right.
Go on. Keep
Tom
going
Savage,
with
B-. Jags defense, nothing bad an eye at. They were top 10. So here's my stat from last one.
Yeah.
5th best in passing. Not a great chance for Savage to start which is likely why he's starting. I think a lot of teams this year are putting out these veterans so the rookie quarterbacks don't fail right off the bat.
Sure.
They
learn their lesson.
Let's let the veteran go in, take the lumps for a couple of weeks till we can tweak the offense. Then let's bring in the rookie and let him play the rest of the year.
Remember David Carr.
Yep. Boom. Running back Lamar Miller, B-. Good news is the Jags gave up over 100 per game last year. Bad news is he's probably the only one who's going to be throwing up some fantasy numbers. Some may disagree with me on that. Somebody sitting across the table might
Lamar
disagree.
Miller?
Yeah.
He's just a guy.
He's just a guy. So, hey, you know what? The Texans got to win. I think it's going to go through Lamar Miller for the majority of this year. I think he's going to get a ton of carries, 25 a game. Wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins, I'm giving him a B. Look, Hopkins has done great things with worse quarterbacks. Then also he's just done some pretty bad performance things too. So he's kind of boomer bust for me this year. I was not big on him. He was not on my draft board. Let's give him a chance to build off of what they had been working on. So Hopkins is going to get a B. And then kind of to the point, there's no depth at wide receiver until Will Fuller comes back because your wide receiver 2 here is Braxton Miller.
Right.
So, again, coverage is going to roll towards Hopkins. Don't look for a big game on him this year. That's all I got to say about this terrible matchup you gave me.
Arizona, Detroit. Yeah, it took you 5 minutes to get through it, by the way. Arizona, Detroit. On the Cardinals side, Carson Palmer, a B+. Great matchup against the Lions defense. Gave up the second most passing touchdowns in the league last year at 33. Ceiling limited by only David Johnson's rushing totals, which project to around 110 yards and at least one score. Speaking of Johnson, an A grade. Heavy workload coming. 20 to 25 carries, 5 to 7 receptions likely. The Lions allowed nearly 4.5 yards per carry last season. Only 8 rushing scores, which is kind of interesting. Johnson should be a strong candidate for multiple score game here, though, in my opinion. Larry Fitzgerald, a B grade, known traditionally as a fast start. Fitz figures to be Palmer's primary again this season, especially down inside the 10, where he's a mismatch for the Detroit secondary. Hasn't had a ton of luck scoring in recent head-to-head matchups against the Lions, however, which gives me reason to be cautiously optimistic about his fantasy chances this Sunday. John Brown, I'll throw a C+ to, an excellent candidate for a long touchdown in this matchup. He likely won't catch more than 4 to 5 passes total, but is a decent flex option if he can hit pay dirt. Over to the Lions, Matthew Stafford, a C+. Sketchy history against the Cardinals. He hasn't topped 200 yards passing against them since 2013. In that span, threw only 1 touchdown pass with 4 INT. Arizona, again this year, projects to finish as one of the league's best defenses. They were ranked 4th against opposing passers last year. Amir Abdullah, I'm giving a C grade to. Arizona only allowed 3.5 yards per carry to opposing runners last season, and Abdullah, as talented as he may be, likely has some rust to shake off after a long hiatus from game action. Negative game script most likely doesn't help matters. I'm not starting Theo Riddick this week. Golden Tate, I'm leaving on the bench, has never scored in 8 meetings against the Cardinals dating back to 2010, and his time in Seattle likely sees a decent amount of Patrick Peterson, which meant virtually 0 fantasy production for the majority of receivers against him last year. Marvin Jones, I'll give a C+ to. Probably sees Justin Bethel in coverage more often than not, who is a good but not great cover corner. If the Lions do have a chance to score via the air, Jones is one of the most likely candidates to be the recipient. Eric Ebron, I'll give a C+ to as well. Another candidate for a Lions score through the air should be him. He stands to benefit, I think, from Anquan Bolden's vacated red zone targets. However, the Cardinals were one of the NFL's stingiest defenses against opposing tight ends last year, allowing the second fewest receiving yards to the position, only 2 tight end scores all year.
Not how I wanted the Lions to start out the year.
No.
I seen the schedule. I'm like, God, that sucks.
It does.
Not good. All right, so on to Oakland, Tennessee. Quarterback Derek Carr going to get the B+. Tennessee had a terrible pass defense last year. No reason to think it flipped a switch. So I anticipate Carr's a top 5 quarterback in week 1 with 300 and a pair. Running back Marshawn Lynch, I'm giving a B-. Moment of truth, and I was never a believer. If you drafted him, you have to start him, but I'm waiting it out. Let's see his cardio. Let's see if he can make it a full 60 minutes. Let's see if he's lost a step. He's 2 years older since the last go-around, that Titans run defense was actually pretty good. They gave up 88 yards per game last year. Wide receiver Amari Cooper, A. The only thing holding him back last year from being a top 3 fantasy football wide receiver was Seth Roberts. With Jared Cook and Marshawn Lynch, I don't expect Roberts to be on the field that much. I think that's going to change a little bit. So I look for Amari Cooper to be one of the big rebounds this year, which is why I drafted him. Wide receiver Michael Crabtree is going to get a B. Fantasy gold in the 12th round last year. His ADP proved people were paying attention, but it begs the question, will his targets be reduced via the new tight end and Lynch's presence? I think so. Big step back for Crabtree this year. On to Tennessee side of the ball, quarterback Marcus Mariota, B+. This could be a big year pending team health. He has good running back support, capable receivers, and a good attitude. Playing a moderate pass defense that gave up over 250 a game. And he's on an home opening start. So I like Mariota's chances, B+. Running back to Marco Murray, A. Raiders love to give up yards, and yards Murray shall receive. Look for solid support, 20 carries. Murray, who isn't as old as you think. He's 29. Technically past his prime, but no way working his way out of the league.
That's right.
Rashard Matthews, B-. Found a decent home here in Tennessee, average production. His play relies on the others around him. Had nearly 1,000 yards on 65 or so catches. And Decker, he's going to get a B. I think he's a steal the wide receiver core. Savvy veteran. He's going to be turning into the most wide receiver productivity.
Oh, what about Delaney Walker? How do you like him with all those new receiving options?
So I think his value is dropping.
I agree with you, actually.
I think his yardage down, his touchdowns will be kind of similar, but I think his yardage is going to drop off the face of the earth.
I'm with you, and the reason I'm with you, I love Rashard Matthews, and I absolutely love Eric Decker in that offense with Marcus Mariota. And then again, you're dealing with a team that wants to run more often than not. They got a great offensive line there. That's Tennessee in a nutshell right there, my friend. So Brian and I still have plenty of matchups to break down for week 1. We're talking about all the fantasy-relevant players, giving them all grades. The pop quiz segment is just one segment away. Brian and I will break down a few others that we look forward to in week 1 here in just a bit. Invite you to stick around. This is the 515 Fantasy Football Show. You're hearing it on 1350 AM ESPN Radio. You are listening to the 515 Fantasy Football Show. This is 1350 AM ESPN Radio. You can also get our show on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and we're also online at espndesmoines.com. Back into the matchups for week 1, Brian.
All right, this one's going to be an easy one on one team. We're going to do Atlanta at Chicago. Quarterback Matt Ryan, he's going to start off with a bang. Top 3 QB this week, and honestly, the whole team is likely top 3 at every position this week. Bears had a decent pass defense last year, but that's because every team was ahead at halftime, so they didn't need to pass the ball anymore.
That's a good point.
Running back Devonta Freeman, same thing here goes for Freeman. He may wind up splitting more time with Tevin Coleman as game flow dictates, especially if they're up 21 at the half. There's no reason to keep Devonta Freeman in there, so let Coleman get stretched out.
It's probably already going to be a 65-35 split, in my opinion. I think Devonta Freeman right away steps in and gets the 65, but Coleman will get his too.
Yeah, so Coleman's going to get a grade here too. He's getting a B. Look for Coleman's production mainly to be in the second half, I think, from a Falcons perspective. No point in breaking off Freeman week 1 if you don't need to. Wide receiver Julio Jones, obvious A here. Julio's Julio. Some people were concerned about his touchdowns recently, but I think they're going to adjust that. Last year's touchdown totals were low. He's a big yardage play. I think that changes a little bit this year. I think we're going to see some giving him dues where he needs to, and he's going to be more of a red zone threat this year.
Kind of like Amari Cooper in Oakland. You feel the same way about him.
Yeah, I think there's a shift that's going to go back because if I'm especially Cooper or Julio, you need to give me the touchdowns.
Yeah.
It's mine. I earned it. I got us 80 yards down here. You can at least finish me off.
Paying him a lot of money.
Gross.
Oh, wait a minute. What?
What?
Never mind.
Julio, obvious start. Sanu, B-. Look, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of mouths to feed. And Sanu's never really been much more than an afterthought, especially with Gabriel hanging around out there. So I can see him getting left off and bumped down the depth chart by midseason. On the Bears side, Glennon, he's going to get the start here, B-. He's only starting because they have to let Trubisky develop. Even though he had a really good preseason doesn't matter that much. So you have to wonder if it's just another one of these spots where they're going to let the veteran fail, bring the rookie in week 5, week 6, and let him kind of play out.
Do you think anybody is starting Mike Glennon, even in a 2-quarterback superflex league?
No,
I don't
but
either.
Hey, whatever.
If you are, you're a big Bears fan.
Yeah, big Bears fan.
Right.
Jordan Howard, he's going to get to be. I'm not sold here. In line to have a good game because of the Bears need playmakers, and Howard's pretty much the only playmaker there. He had 1,300 yards last year. I would expect a little bit less because of game flow, but who knows what's going to happen here. They need playmakers, and that's really the reality of the situation. Wide receiver Kevin White, B+, and I'm going to just lump this in there. Marcus Wheaton's going to get a C+. Look, there's only so many people. These guys are bye-week fill-ins at best. I don't see anyone really starting these guys with confidence. I need to see some games come out of them before I can make a decision.
I own 0 shares of Jordan Howard, and it's because I don't want any part of that offense at all.
Yeah, I apply that theory to a couple of teams this year.
Baltimore at Cincinnati. First, the Ravens. Joe Flacco, a C+. I'm worried about that back of his. I'm worried about all that missed practice time, and even more worried about Joe's history in Cincy, where he's thrown for 200 yards or more only twice in 8 meetings dating back to 2008. His last touchdown pass thrown in Cincy was in December of 2013, Brian.
Yikes.
What he's got going for him, though, is volume, but I don't think I'd start him this week unless I had to. Terrence West, a C grade. He's topped 94 yards on the ground only once against the Bengals in 5 games against them. Scored only 1 touchdown in that span. That was back in November of 2014. Since he held opposing runners to a total of only 12 touchdowns last season, less than 1 per game on average. Danny Woodhead, giving him a C+. Similarly, Woodhead hasn't had much luck against the Bengals. He went over 100 combo yards once as a Charger back in 2015, but didn't hit pay dirt. Gets a slight bump over West in PPR leagues, but again, not an ideal matchup here. Jeremy Maclin, a C+, only faced the Bengals twice in his career. Caught 11 passes for 148 yards in his 2015 meeting with them as a member of the Chiefs, but has yet to score a touchdown against them since he was 11th in the league against opposing pass catchers last season. Mike Wallace, I'll give a slightly better grade to here, I think. B-. Recent history hasn't been very kind to Wallace in terms of his fantasy success against the Bengals, but his pre-existing chemistry with Joe Flacco, a matchup with William Jackson, feels better than Macklin's likely draw versus Dre Kirkpatrick. I'm not advocating you start either one of them, but of the two, I think Mike Wallace is actually going to be the better start.
I think he's a big steal. I've changed my mind last couple of days. I think Mike Wallace is going to be a ninja grab.
I like him. Over to the Bengals, Andy Dalton, a B grade. He averaged nearly 288 passing yards per game against Baltimore in his last 7 head-to-head matchups, a total of 10 touchdowns. Yardage will likely be there for the Red Rocket on Sunday, but it'll have to be quick-hitting routes or he'll be spending a lot of time on his back. Since he's O-line, as you probably realize, not one of the league's best. So if the Bengals want to do some scoring, it'll have to be through the air. Jeremy Hill, a B-. The Ravens are a perennial powerhouse up front, ranking 5th in yards allowed to the running back position last season, yielding a total of only 10 touchdowns, only one of which was scored by a Bengals runner, Jeremy Hill. Gio Bernard, a C grade. I think he'll get some touches in the passing game, but he yields to Hill when the Bengals get down deep. Then there's Joe Mixon, 3rd on the depth chart. He might actually see like 8 to 10 total touches as a change of pace guy on Sunday. It wouldn't surprise me. Not where the start yet, but he's getting there. A.J. Green, an obvious A grade. He's scored in every meeting against the Ravens since 2013. Every single one of them, piling up an incredible 227 yards on 10 catches with 2 scores in September of 2015. Not messing with Brandon LaFell or Tyler Boyd in this one. But Tyler Eifert, I give a B grade to. He scored in his lone meeting with the Ravens last season, grabbing 5 passes for 68 yards in addition to the touchdown. It is what Tyler Eifert does when he's healthy. He scores touchdowns and has a good opportunity to do it again this week.
All right, let's rock Pittsburgh at Cleveland. This one's pretty easy. Pittsburgh A's. That's all I need to say about that pretty much.
I like
isn't
that.
it?
Why not?
Yeah. So Big Ben, obviously, he's not typically a road player. It's first game of the season. Browns have always been at the bottom here. I think he puts a best foot forward, or is it a total trap game? So NFL Survivor pools, man, people are going bonkers on Pittsburgh here, but I will not pick Pittsburgh in this game. I think this is one of those just natural-born upsets staring you right in the face going, this could happen.
12-6 final.
It's gonna. I think this.
Ben sucks on the road. Everybody knows it.
Yeah, I think this could be one of those things. Look, Le'Veon Bell's fumbled time or two here or there. I think this is one of those where all these sneaky defensive plays and just Cleveland just pulls a rabbit out of the hat.
Listen,
and puts up one of them last-second stunners.
The Brownies. The Brownies always play Pittsburgh tough. Always. They never never end up winning the game, but they always play them tough. So anyway, I like where you're going here with that. I would start pretty much all of my
So
Steelers.
I am too, but I'm just saying if you're in a Survivor, don't pick Pittsburgh.
Mine has some risk, but I won't ever have to pick them again, which is great. Buffalo.
Buffalo.
I like Buffalo this week in Survivor.
Le'Veon Bell, he only played in 12 games last year, had 1,260 yards. Reasonable to think he starts with 150 here. Antonio Brown, A for Antonio, regardless. We've been over this 100 times. You don't need me to tell you. Martavis Bryant, B+. Look, I think this is going to work out good for him. There's too many playmakers to cover on Pittsburgh's offense right now, and that just leaves Martavis Bryant open for 3 or 4 more catches normally than what would happen there anyways.
Yeah, he's not a big volume guy, but he does hit long ones, and he does score a lot.
Sure does. Quarterback Deshaun Kaiser on the Brown side of the ball, I'm going to give him a B. For what it's worth, Pittsburgh and a middle-of-the-road defense, they give up yards. They're a bend-don't-break defense. Kaiser is opening at home. There's a respectable chance for some numbers here. Not 303 touchdowns, but look, I think if Deshaun Kaiser gets out there, throws up 200, 250 yards passing, has 2 total touchdowns, 1 in the air, 1 on the ground, I think that's a good game for him. I think that's a moral victory there, and it's probably going to be, if that's what happens, that's probably going to be one of your last chances to ever pick him up. Running back Isaiah Crowell, B-. I was never big on the Crow here like everyone else was. Especially the linebackers for the Steelers are going to be really tough this year. So I don't like Crow's chances. I don't like Duke's chances either. Corey Coleman's going to get a B+. Someone's got to catch it. Kaiser is going to kind of go out. We'll talk about it more later on in the show. Wink, wink. Kenny Britt, C. I think Britt becomes a target monster here. He may or may not have upgraded at quarterback. Waiting to see on that. But he had double the production Coleman did, so expect the majority to head his way.
All right, so if you apply your theory of somebody has to catch the ball, we know that Coleman and Britt are perfectly capable guys, but do the Browns have anybody besides them? I know you don't want to talk about tight ends, and I don't necessarily like to stick my neck out for rookies, but a rookie quarterback is under center in Cleveland, and they do have a very talented rookie tight end in David
Quick
Njoku.
dump to the tight end.
You think Njoku could be a guy that they look to?
Look, it's not someone I'm going to start, though.
I get it.
Sure, but it's not someone I'm going to drop in my fantasy lineup by any means.
I just like that rookie-to-rookie connection. That's all I'm thinking about.
There's a lot of them on the Browns team this year.
Well, a lot of newcomers, yeah, sure.
But, I mean, look, Coleman didn't have a great year last year numbers-wise, so I think if Britt's still out there, I think he's a nice little steal too.
Pop quiz coming your way next. I know Brian's excited for that.
Woo!
This is the 515 Fantasy Football Show. Stick around. Hour number 2 of the 515 Fantasy Football Show on 1350 AM ESPN Radio, Des Moines, Iowa. I'm Andy Hall. That's Brian Eikenberry. We are on Facebook, 515 Fantasy Football. We're on Twitter, at 515 Fantasy. I'm at Andy Hall Radio. He's at IkeFFB, IKEFFB. Brian and I both absolutely love the two-way conversation. I mentioned this in the intro of the show today, and we mention it almost every week, come to think of it. We just love to have conversations, man. We love to have arguments. We love to tell you why we think certain ways. Let's deep dive into fantasy. Get involved in the conversation.
Yes, I agree. Reach out. Let's have it. Let's argue. Let's do this. Let's talk about the BS trades you sent me in the listener league, things like that.
Do you really want to go there?
No, I'm just going to throw that out there. You know who you are.
Yep, you know who you are because you also sent me a bogus trade offer, but then you were smart enough to rescind it because you knew it was stupid. Stop it. Brian and I are both having it out with this guy.
Yeah, typically, so let's talk about this right now before we get going to the pop quiz. I typically will not, so I have two rules. One, I'm not trading inside my division because I don't want to make you better because I'm directly competing against you for a playoff spot.
Right.
And two, I'm probably not going to trade in the first 5 weeks. I drafted, to me, in my head, I drafted a team of winners. I'm not trading them away.
You should be in love with your squad when you walk away from a draft.
You better hope so.
You should be, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I am. I'm happy with all of my league's drafts. I think I have winners, and I'm good to go for now.
I'm with you. It drives me crazy to see that guys are looking to unload guys before they even have a game under their belt. There are people out there asking questions. God love you. Keep asking. And most of the time, I'll keep telling you, just hold on to your guy. I don't know why you want to move him all of a sudden.
Yeah.
There are extenuating circumstances. Guys can get hurt in practice. I get that. There might be some other factor involved in why you might want to make a trade pre-week 1.
Or, you know what? So here's another thing I have. Explain to me why you think this is a good deal.
Sell it.
Explain to me.
Sell it.
Because, look, if you're like, hey, I know we're just kind of swapping stuff here, but I hose myself over on bye weeks, so I'm going to take a little bit of a loss here to kind of make up for some bye week boo-boos that I made. I'll at least look at the trade and think, you know what? Did I do that? Did I make a bye week boo-boo and things didn't work out for me? Let me look into this. At least tell me why you're doing it because, let me tell you, you're not going to be sneaky with me.
I know.
Boy.
I haven't tried to be.
Boy.
We're on to the pop quiz. Brian and I like to argue. A lot of times it stems from a pop quiz question where Brian does not like my answer. But it's my question, damn it, and I'm going to ask it.
And you're usually wrong. Let's do this.
I'm not usually wrong. I'd love to have an official poll about this. Okay? Because I think I'm right.
Polls are never right.
Yeah, you're right about that, too. All right. Question number 1 in the pop quiz, Brian.
Okay.
You drafted Falcons running back Devontae Freeman with your first or second round pick, then handcuffed him with Tevin Coleman in the 7th round. Freeman, as you know, finished as the number 6 fantasy back in half PPR leagues in 2016. Coleman, number 16. Is it worth considering starting both?
On a week-by-week basis, yes. Case in point, week 1 at Chicago. I think this is a legitimate opportunity for you to say, you know what? I'm just going to do this. I am going to start both of these guys. So week to week, yes, I think you can absolutely make a case because Devonta Freeman could have 100 yards in the first half and like, all right, buddy, settle down. We don't need to get you hurt. We're up a ton. Let's let Coleman in. Coleman's going to rip off 100 then. And you've got 2 running backs that just look like studs right now.
So when I heard you go through the matchup, I was like, oh, he's going to get this one right. The answer is yes. In 16 games, Freeman averaged a little more than 14 carries, a little more than 3 receptions per game, okay? In 13 games, Coleman averaged a little over 9 carries, a little more than 2 receptions per game. Freeman scored 13 touchdowns, 11 on the ground, 2 through the air. Coleman scored 11, 8 on the ground, 3 through the air. The only place Coleman generally has yielded to Freeman has been inside the 5-yard line. And finally, considering the Falcons' relatively easy schedule against mostly bottom-half run defenses, this is not a bad strategy if you should choose to employ it. Again, it begins on week 1, as you alluded to, Brian. And, it's funny you mentioned the game splits last season. I always go back to, the percentages where I say Freeman will likely get 60 to 65% of the touches in the backfield. Coleman will probably get about 30 to 35, right? Or 35 to 40. If you look at the game-by-game splits last season, there were games where Freeman maybe wouldn't have the best game. Coleman would. Coleman would step right up. More often than not, they both had great games. But there was never a week where they both sucked.
Right, and that's one of the frustrating things. I know, if you look at someone like Latavius Murray last year, he would start off bad. They would instantly abandon the run game. But for a running back, to me, it's not, he had 6 carries, he has 10 yards, we're done, moving on. That's not how running backs work. And in the case of this, they have that option because they can, all right, Freeman's not got it today. They got him dialed in. Let's bring in Coleman. Boom, just to your point. It's got to be super frustrating because that's why running backs get 20 to 25 touches a game because they'll go 3, 2, 0, 25. That's how it works. So it's kind of frustrating.
I think they're headed in that direction in Tennessee for sure with DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry. I think Henry's going to eat more into that touch share this season.
Yeah, I think so, and depending on how well they're in the playoff hunt, especially come the back half of the season, so they're going to try, if they're in the hunt, I think they're going to start resting DeMarco Murray a little bit to kind of give him some rest heading into the big playoffs and things like that.
Indy, Jacksonville, Tennessee. Who's the 4th in that division? That's the AFC South, right? Jacksonville, Indy, Tennessee. Who am I missing?
Miami?
No, that's AFC East.
Yeah, they're East.
Wow, I can't think of who that other team is. Can you look that up real quick, and I'll get question number 2
beep,
going?
Boop, boop, bop, boop. This is me hitting buttons. Boop, boop, beep, boop.
Yeah, sing a song. Why don't you?
Why
am I blanking on the other team? They have a
Texans.
Yes, so they have a legitimate chance of winning that division for sure.
100%.
Because Houston's not that great offensively. Defensive, they're fine. So Houston probably ends up the set number 2 team. Jacksonville 3, Indy could be 4 if Luck doesn't get back on the field.
Sure.
All right, question number 2. One of the hottest rookie commodities this preseason has been Carolina's Christian McCaffrey.
Man.
Rendering 30-year-old Jonathan Stewart into forgotten man category, being drafted as the 39th running back off the board in most recent ADP at Fantasy Football Calculator. When it's all said and done in 2017, will the better bargain in PPR leagues be McCaffrey in the 3rd or Stewart in the 8th?
Stewart in the 8th. Touchdowns, baby. Touchdowns. I don't think McCaffrey sees the field inside the 10 at all. And again, it goes back to a rookie's fumble, pass protection. There's lots of stuff. Look, everyone was super amped about rookie running backs again this year because they're riding high on Zeke. And I was not biting on that category at all. Sorry.
I'm totally in on Christian McCaffrey. I'm sorry, Brian.
Really?
The Panthers' willingness to draft him 4th overall in the 2016 NFL Draft sent a signal to fans and fantasy owners alike. The guard is about to change in Carolina. Now, Stewart scored 9 touchdowns last season. He hadn't done that since 2009, by the way. He ran for under 4 yards per carry for the first time since the injury-riddled seasons of 2012 and 2013. Stewart will likely be a victim of game script, as he's not ever been known as a pass catcher. McCaffrey is the back to own in Carolina, even at what appears to be a steep asking price. I'm in on McCaffrey this season. I like him a lot.
You so crazy.
Question number 3. Let's talk about the dumpster fires happening in the AFC East. First, the Jets, Brian. Discounting kickers and DST, is there a player besides Bilal Powell that is worth a roster spot?
At this point, no. No. Look, it's not there. I mean, let's look at it this way. Would you rather start, I don't even remember his name now.
Who, in where? New York?
Would you rather start Robbie Anderson or Kenny Golladay from the Lions, for example, a wide receiver 3? Like, that's instantly what popped in my head.
Oh, I'd rather start Robbie Anderson.
Really?
Yep.
Like,
He's going to be on the field. Galladay's not guaranteed to be on the field.
No, you're going to be surprised.
We'll see. Anyway, so no, the answer is no.
No.
Some may argue that presumed wide receiver 1 in New York, Robbie Anderson, may be worth a spot. Because, somebody's got to catch the ball. You said that. But that's flawed logic, in my opinion. Bilal Powell may actually lead the Jets in all receiving categories. So
that would be embarrassing.
That might very well happen this season. So
they have clearly sold out and just said, screw it.
I got less than a minute. How about the Bills? In Buffalo, is there a player besides LaShawn McCoy that is worth a roster spot? I'm glad you said that. Because as far as Buffalo goes, Jonathan Williams, the presumed backup to McCoy, was cut last weekend. So now the only player I'm advocating for besides LaShawn McCoy is the guy that set the FBS record for career receptions last season. That is rookie wide receiver Zay Jones. Keep your Jordan Matthews away from me. I don't want any part of it.
I agree.
I don't care who's under center. By the way, Tyrod Taylor was a top 10 quarterback last season. So, just saying.
Well, I went for the obvious one. I think there's more.
I like Jones.
Per roster spot, it's Zay Jones.
At that place in the draft, and you're probably taking Jones where you take Jordan Matthews. They're about equal. Who are you going to take? You're going to take the upside guy, Jones. No question about it. All right, we're breaking down more matchups. Week 1 upcoming. 515 Fantasy Football Show on 1350 AM, ESPN Radio. The 515 Fantasy Football Show on 1350 AM, ESPN Radio, Des Moines, Iowa. We're also on Apple Podcasts /iTunes, Stitcher /Google Play, online at ESPNDesMoines.com are we. Andy Hall, Brian Eikenberry. More Week 1 matchups. My next matchup is Indy at the L.A. Rams. We'll begin with the Colts. I'm not even going to bother talking about Scott Tolzien.
Yikes.
Ugh. Frank Gore, though, I'll give a B grade to. The Rams were a middle-of-the-road run defense last year, and with Aaron Donald unlikely to be in uniform and in action this weekend, there's some opportunity for Gore to get a decent amount of volume as a runner and as a pass catcher. With Scott Tolzien under center, the Colts will want to set the pace and control the clock as much as humanly possible, and they'll do it with lots of Frank Gore. T.Y. Hilton, I'm going to give him a B-. Now, I'm not a Tolzien truther. As long as he's under center, Hilton's ceiling is limited. There's no doubt about that. But the Rams, they don't give up a ton of receiving yards last season, but they did allow 32 touchdowns to be scored by opposing pass catchers. And I see this as Hilton's path to success in a game that might not see a ton of accurate passing between the two teams. Dante Moncrief, a C+, every bit the opportunity Hilton does of grabbing the rare Scott Tolzien touchdown pass this weekend. Was super efficient in very limited action last season, and though we won't see what he can truly do until or if Andrew Luck returns, he'll be a threat to score at any time in any game. Jack Doyle, I'm just going to leave on the bench. The Rams were incredibly solid against the tight end position last season. Doyle's nothing more than a possession and check down chain mover. On the Rams side, Jared Goff, this is going to surprise you. I'm giving him a B grade.
Yeah, what?
A very sneaky option if you're a daily fantasy player. In season long, it'll probably take the most ideal of matchups to advocate starting him. in anything but a 2 QB or a super flex league. That said, the Colts, they're without Vontae Davis, who's out for an extended period with a groin injury. They gave up 4,200 passing yards total last year. Good for 27th in the league. They allowed 27 passing scores and only intercepted 8 enemy passes all year. Goff may surprise them with a solid fantasy day in this plus matchup. Just saying. Todd Gurley, I'm giving an A grade to. The Colts are a hot mess in the secondary, but they're not much better up front against the run. Gurley may touch the ball 30 or more times in this game, and with that potential volume can turn in a monster day from a fantasy perspective. Fire him up. Sammy Watkins, a B+. The only time I'll say this all season long, Brian. Sammy Watkins is a brilliant start. Rest of the season, some really tough matchups, but this week, I'd roll him out. I wouldn't feel too bad about it. And Cooper Kupp apparently is number 3 on the depth chart. I'm not necessarily buying that. I'll give him a C grade here, although I don't think anybody's going to start him. I think the rookie's going to get some looks here, but ultimately takes a backseat, as we know, to Watkins and Gurley in fantasy production week 1. Be patient. He'll get there.
All right, looks like it's my turn now. Seattle at Green Bay. Quarterback Russell Wilson. He is going to get an A. The Packers had the 30th ranked pass defense last year, so expect the same for the Seahawks to air it out. Russell Wilson will look to scramble, use some magic, make magic happen with his legs, just like he does every other time. Runs around, scrambles around, chucks it, boom, Doug Baldwin catches it. Running back situation here in Seattle, we have no idea what's happening here anymore. Are you really trotting out Eddie Lacy now with Rawls and all this stuff back and forth? I say no start for Seattle. And we even talked about it a few weeks back. I believe no running back will have 50% of the carries, and there will be 4 starting running backs at some point this year for Seattle. So don't trust it. My prophecy's already becoming true. Head out there. Patreon will take care of you for the future. Wide receiver Doug Baldwin, B+. Should have a great day. Plenty of targets coming his way. Always good running around in the open field. Hoping that his touchdowns increase this year, but that's relying on Wilson. It is worth noting that he had 30% of the touchdowns coming from Russell Wilson through the air. Wide receiver Paul Richardson, B. You're saying, wait, who? Brian, did you just say Paul Richardson?
He did.
I sure did. Little blip here on the radar, but he's the number 2 on the depth chart here. What's his face? Tyler Lockett. He's running with the second team. He must have gotten in trouble. I don't know. A little...
Or he just hasn't impressed when they've given him opportunities.
Absolutely, and that's really the thing. He got lucky a couple of times, rode that into last season, and they went, who was this guy? So looks to be a judgment call, but Paul Richardson probably is not in your starting lineup, but that's okay. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers on Green Bay. A, you know the drill. He's now single. Got rid of his girlfriend. Back to football, folks. Back to football.
Greatest troll job of all time is a comedian by the name of Nick Swardson, who's a Minnesota guy. Took a picture with Olivia Munn.
Ooh.
And posted it on Twitter.
That's
Skull
awesome.
Vikings. It was the greatest.
That's awesome.
So Nick Swardson, he rules.
And that's so like I typically hate Aaron Rodgers because he's a Packer and I'm the Lions, blah blah blah. But the one thing I always love about Rodgers is he's creative when it comes to press conferences.
Oh, totally.
You know, he's up there in Minnesota and he's drinking the Grape Crush, you know, and he's drinking stuff like that during his and he's doing
a
it with
funny
the
dude.
label out. You know, so he's got the Big Lebowski sweater on sometimes. It's just little stuff like that makes me go, all right, the dude's pretty creative, so that's kind of cool.
He's funny. He's got a good sense of humor.
Yeah, but obviously he's an A always, anytime. Ty Montgomery, he's going to get an A. I like Ty this year to do some more damage on the ground, really boost his skills. You know, he's pretty sharp, 25-yard run during the preseason here, so that showed he's increasing his vision as a running back, so I like the things I'm seeing out of him. Jordy Nelson, B+. Good yardage, had 13 touchdowns last year. I would expect the touchdowns to dip a little bit this year, but his yardage is going to increase, I think. I think he's going to push the 1,500-yard mark this year. He's also not scared of Sherman, who also had his worst year last year. I think age is catching up with him. Wide receiver Devontae Adams, B. Never been a fan, but I suppose it's his time. Just shy of 1,000 yards last year and had great touchdown production.
So you're not worried at all about Seattle?
The Legion of Boom.
I know they're
Everyone
getting
was,
old.
oh, oh, they're back together. Oh, my gosh, here we go. That was 5 years ago, people. Think about this. Think about it.
Tough.
Settle down.
It's still RELAX. Relax.
Relax.
Carolina at San Francisco. First, the Panthers. Cam Newton, I'm giving an A grade to. No secret, I'm down on Cam this season for a wide variety of reasons. But if you like a quarterback that gets off to a hot start in week 1, Cam might be your guy. He threw for 353 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a pick while chipping in 37 yards on 6 carries as well in his lone matchup against the Niners. That was last season. There's ample opportunity for scoring against one of the league's worst defenses, which ranked dead last against the run in 2016 and gave up 30 passing scores. Jonathan Stewart, I'll give a B grade to. Oddly, Jay Stu hasn't scored on the Niners in 3 previous meetings. He's only topped 41 yards rushing once. Though McCaffrey is the new shiny toy in Panthers offense, the old man still has something left in the tank. We may see the future of Carolina's goal line approach change this year, allowing Stewart some carries inside the 5 rather than seeing Newton take it upon himself, as he's done so many times before. Speaking of Christian McCaffrey, I'll give a B grade too as well. Reports are he's got his own custom playbook, Brian, because the Panthers coaching staff are tailoring so much of their new-look offense to his unique skill set. The Niners, they won't know how to defend him, and he'll likely get off to a strong start to his NFL career against a really bad defense. You couldn't have asked for a better matchup, really.
Or does he have a special playbook because he's not great at reading one?
Yeah, you never know. That might be part of it. On to the receivers. I think Kelvin Benjamin's the one to talk about here for sure as far as wide receivers go. San Fran does not have the guys to slow Kelvin, much less stop him. In his lone meeting against them last season, he caught 7 passes for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns. What's not to love about Kelvin Benjamin?
I agree.
Greg Olsen, I'm also giving an A grade too as well. Like Benjamin, found plenty of success against the Niners last September, grabbing 5 catches for 122 yards in the score. There's plenty to like here for one of the league's true Iron Men, Greg Olsen. All right, over to the Niners. Brian Hoyer. You know I love Brian Hoyer. B grade for him. The Panthers were one of the league's most porous defenses against the pass in 2016, allowing an average of 268 yards through the air per contest, a total of 27 passing scores. Hoyer had no problem carving up the 4 defenses he had a shot at last season in Chicago, averaging well over 300 passing yards per game, throwing 6 touchdown passes, not turning the ball over at all. He'll need to throw a lot to keep up with the Panthers, which is good news for your fantasy team if you decide to take a chance on my boy, Brian Hoyer, who someday I will get a selfie taken with. I'm that big a fan of Brian Hoyer.
Oh, jeez.
Huge fan of Brian Hoyer. Brian Hoyer ever wants to be on this show, he can replace Brian Eikenberry as far as I'm concerned.
Sounds great.
Just kidding.
I'll send my alimony checks to Ankeny.
You're my boy, Brian. Come on now. Carlos Hyde, I'll give a C grade too. For as bad as Carolina was against the pass last season, they were incredibly stout against the run, allowing the 6th fewest rushing yards in the league, a total of only 11 scores on the ground. Hyde should have a great season if he can stay healthy, but it won't be off to a quick start. This is a tough matchup, man. Pierre Garçon, a B+. If you like high volume plays in your PPR league, Garçon will be one of the best this year. He saw over 130 targets the last time he and Kyle Shanahan worked together in Washington. He should be in line for at least that as a Niner, you figure, as Hoyer's most competent pass catcher. I like Pierre Garçon a lot from a sleeper standpoint this year, Brian. What do you think?
I think the Niners were on my do not draft period.
So like I said with the Bears, you just want no part of it whatsoever.
No part of the Niners at all.
Even Carlos Hyde.
Nothing.
He's going as a kind of a mid-tier running back too in most drafts.
Yeah, and I laughed at people doing that. I think that is going to be one of their worst decisions, and the people that were picked after them were going to outperform him a million miles.
All right, so full disclosure on this next one. This is my last bit for this matchup, Brian, and this will be the end of the segment too. This is how we're going to close out. It was getting late last night. I'd had a few drinks, trying to calm the nerves a bit, before bed. And I wrote up George Kittle. George Kittle, I gave a B- to for Sunday's game. Carolina gave up the 2nd most fantasy points in the league to the tight end position in 2016. The Niners were so confident in what they have in former Hawkeye, rookie George Kittle, that they traded away Vance McDonald to the Steelers. The future is now. His name is George Kittle. I heard he hurt his hamstring, though, so I'm not sure I love this anymore. But my next Gary Barnage, ladies and gentlemen, George Kittle.
Sounds fun.
More matchups coming next. This is 515 Fantasy Football. Down to the final segment of matchups. Week 1 matchups on the 515 Fantasy Football Show. I'm Andy Hall. That's Brian Eikenberry. Number of ways you can find us on the dial, 1350 AM in Central Iowa, ESPN Radio, based out of Des Moines. You can hear us digitally. If you missed any part of the show, you can always go back and listen at your leisure via Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. We're also on ESPNDesMoines.com.
I would suggest that if you listen to us live, that you download the podcast so when you're sitting in church or you're at the mall on Saturday, putting in your time so you can get Sunday from 12 to 7 free. You know, get yourself some Apple EarPods that can seal underneath the stocking cap or something, and
I like it.
give us a listen.
I used to thread an earbud up a long sleeve shirt, and just like lean on my hand, basically like put my face on my hand, just lean on it, and that would have the earbud right up against my ear.
Sure,
that's how I'd get away with it.
Ninja.
All right, Sunday night game, Brian. What do you got?
Giants at Dallas. Quarterback Eli Manning. I believe in Eli. This is a make or break year for him. I'm going to give him an A this week, an A. He hasn't done anything since getting a Super Bowl, and this is arguably his best group of wide receivers. He must make a step forward if he wants to get paid in his next contract, and he has every tool to do that. And also, the Cowboys' secondary is terrible. So you have no excuses, Eli Manning.
Beckham doesn't play. Is it still an A?
No.
If he doesn't play,
he's playing.
Yeah.
He's playing.
I know you say that, but he might not.
He's playing.
Okay.
I mean, watch it, though, come Sunday morning.
Watch it,
but he's playing.
Watch it.
Paul Perkins going to get a C+. Not sold on him. Averaged 4 yards per carry last year.
Terrible.
So he has no excuse not to perform. Again, it's one of those things. You've got these great set of wide receivers out there that's going to pull coverage downfield. That 4 yards per carry needs to be 4.5, pushing into the 5.
Not a great offensive line there.
No, but people should be moving downfield. Everyone's eyes should be moving downfield. That should open things up. Hopefully he pans out, but I'm not starting him just yet. I drafted him a couple plays as a safety net. Odell Beckham Jr. Gonna play. I believe in it. He's getting an A. He's always an A, especially in a divisional game, which is why he's not going to miss this. This game is too important for him to miss week 1. All reports indicated iffy, up in the air, do, don't.
And it's a Sunday night game, so it's tough, man.
Yeah, so it's tough for you, but I have to leave him in because if you don't, whoops. There's no way he misses this game. Brandon Marshall's going to get a B. Has Father Time finally caught up with him? He is the number 2, but will he finish as the number 2? Other wide receivers trying to pass him. This could be his resurrection or the dumpster fire. At least one game, you would expect a decent game. It's going to be this one. So I think it happens. I believe in Brandon Marshall this game. We got to see what happens. We got to see how his stamina looks. I've mentioned that a couple of times.
He's a red zone beast.
Yeah, it's going to happen. There's too many things working in his favor. I really think the Giants team is set up to be that sleeper Super Bowl team this year.
Wow, okay.
Cowboys, Dak Prescott, B-. In Dak's case, he wasn't ever a really good fantasy football quarterback. And I will offer this bit of wisdom. Zeke would have been Zeke if Romo was the quarterback. Dak would not have been Dak if Zeke was not the running back. So that's
fair.
That's my bit of wisdom heading in to the people who were drafting Dak Prescott as their starting quarterback. I just shook my head and go, you don't pay attention. You don't listen to the show. Darren McFadden, he's going to get a B. Unfortunately, Ezekiel Elliott's playing. So that shifts to, hey, Zeke's going to get an A. Let him run. Let him run. He's going to run angry. He's going to do it. Big things coming out of Zeke. No reason to think he's not. I think back to this situation, and it sucks for the NFL. I'm probably going long here. Sorry.
Almost 5 minutes.
I'll move on. Des Bryant, B+. Real dice roll here. You never know what Des is going to do. He didn't have a great year last year. I think if Zeke isn't playing, I think Des elevates the grade. But with Zeke playing, I think that brings Des down a little bit. Terrence Williams is going to get a C. He's never been there. Cole Beasley nearly beat him last year. And I think he's going to pass him on the depth chart this year.
Which shocked me that they gave him that new deal.
Yeah,
Anyway.
4 years? Are you kidding me?
Unbelievable. New Orleans, Minnesota, the first of the Monday night doubleheaders. Let's start with the Saints. Drew Brees, an A-. Brees, normally an easy A grade. He bumps down just a bit, considering the Vikings secondary actually got better via free agency in the offseason after ranking third in yards allowed through the air in 2016. He's still a super start. Just make sure you temper your yardage expectations for him. The touchdowns should be there. Historically, they've been five prior meetings with the Vikings. Brees has thrown for 12 touchdowns, only 2 INT. Those were back in 2008, by the way, so a long time ago. Mark Ingram, I'm going to give him a B grade. Minnesota was gouged by several feature backs last season. Now, in most cases, I'd be giving a solid A grade to whoever fit that criteria. But in the case of Mark Ingram, who, by the way, I do expect a solid amount of work from in this game, he's taking a backseat to
Yucky Adrian Peterson.
Of course he is. I'm going to give Adrian a B- here. He'll score 1 touchdown against his former team. That's about it. And he'll feel vindication somehow as his farewell tour begins in Minneapolis on Monday night. But he'll get that 1 touchdown. He'll feel better about himself. There you go. Michael Thomas, a B-. Xavier Rhodes, he's no joke. One of the top 3 cover corners in the game will be tasked with shutting down the talented sophomore Saint receiver, and he'll by and large come out the victor. Thomas will see some targets. He'll catch a few balls, but I don't see him finding the end zone at all in this one. Ted Ginn, on the other hand, might.
Jackpot.
B+ for Ted Ginn. With no Willie Snead to steal targets out of the slot, Ginn will be allowed to do what he's always done. Run the fly routes, hope to connect with Drew Brees, one of the league's best deep ball quarterbacks, by the way. This is the best situation Ginn's ever been in and should be off to a very quick start to his 2017 campaign. In most of my leagues, most, not all, but most, I own Ted Ginn, and I love him this year.
Same way.
Colby Fleener, I'm not starting. I don't like him. Even though I will give you this. When Willie Snead is not in the lineup for the Saints, Colby Fleener actually gets some play.
Sure does.
But I'm not starting him because I just don't like him. Over to the Vikings. Sam Bradford, a B+. This is as good a matchup as a quarterback can have. New Orleans ranked dead last in passing yards allowed last season, giving up 27 touchdowns through the air, and with a rookie in the backfield for the Vikings, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Minnesota exploits that awful Saints secondary. We'll talk more about Sam here in a bit. Dalvin Cook, the Saints weren't nearly as bad against the run as they were against the pass last season. They allowed only 4.1 yards per carry, but did give up the 4th most touchdowns to opposing backs. Cook should have no problem carving up the Saints for 100 combo yards and at least a score. My only concern, as has been the case with the Vikings the past few seasons, is that offensive line, which is admittedly quite offensive. I'll give Dalvin Cook a B+, by the way. Stephon Diggs gets a B from me. The wealth will be spread evenly between Diggs, now running the majority of his routes on the outside, which is different this season, and Thielen, the new slot guy, not to mention Rudolph, who finished 2016 with 83 receptions, the 2nd most receiving touchdowns in the league at the position as well. There's reason to like all 3 in some way, shape, or form. They all get B grades from me.
All right.
2 minutes and 50 seconds. Can you do it?
Yep, sure can. I look at my sheet, and I want to say the Los Angeles Clippers, the
Yes,
LAC.
totally.
God, it's terrible. All right, Rivers going to get a B on the road against a great pass defense and the defense in general, so good luck. The one thing that's going to help the Chargers is they're firing on all cylinders early. Rivers has no excuses not to perform here. The whole team is healthy. Melvin Gordon, love the dude, not this week, B-. Even though the Broncos, that was their weakness, was the run defense last year.
Yes, it was.
They got some new pieces through the draft. Everybody's healthy again. I expect it to be shut down a lot. He's going to catch a handful of passes, but I think he's going to get about 15 actual rushes out of this one. Keenan Allen, B+. Cross our fingers, hope the best. Injuries be damned. If Allen stays healthy, it's going to be a good draft. I rolled the dice. With Ward being gone, especially in the back the safety position, I think that's going to create a hole and kind of let Keenan Allen break a big one or two. Tyrell Williams, B-. Going back to the defense, minimal 50 yards here or less. If you have him, don't start him. It's week 1. You shouldn't be having to beg this hard. Denver side of the ball, Trevor Siemian, B+, no pressure with, what's his face coming back, Osweiler. Good thing.
Jeez.
Yeah, great. Pulled a Matt Flynn, man. That was awesome.
Unbelievable.
Good thing for Siemian is that the Chargers weren't great last year against the pass. Bad thing is he's still Trevor Siemian. C.J. Anderson, B- with Jamal Charles lurking in the backfield. C.J. Anderson must perform and improve on his 4 yards per carry and 4 touchdowns last year. Honestly, I look for Charles to get a chance at the starting job about week 3 or 4.
Wow.
Yeah, I do. I think they're really going to lean that way. Wide receiver Demaryius Thomas is going to get an A. huge upside. You know what he can do. It all requires QB performance. Emmanuel Sanders is going to get the B. If you got him in 7th round, great value. If you look at it, the Demaryius Thomas has a few more receptions, but they're equal in yardage. I think it's going to play out the exact same way this year.
Yeah, the bigger bargain is Sanders, no question about it, considering ADP and what he's done. So, all right, Brian, we're down to that's it for the matchups. They're done. We got bargain bins coming up here in just a bit, and the 515 Fantasy Flea Flicker will wrap up this edition of the show. Real quick. Do you like the doubleheaders? Monday night, first week?
No.
I hate the doubleheaders. Because the first one starts so early, the second one starts late, ends late. People on the East Coast, it sucks.
I hated being on the East Coast on Monday Night Football.
Ugh.
I got over at midnight, and you had to wake up for PT the next morning.
Right, and but it's even worse when you have these double headers. Anyway, I just was wondering. Maybe that's a little primer for our flea flicker coming up. The 515 Fantasy Football Show. This is 1350 AM ESPN Radio. The final segment of this Week 1 edition of the 515 Fantasy Football Show. I'm Andy Hall. That's Brian Eikenberry. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of this final segment, which is, of course, the flea flicker, a couple of items. We always begin this final segment with bargain bin picks. Now, we have different philosophies this early in the season. Brian gives you bargain bin guys to look at that you probably can grab now for use further down the road.
Sure.
There's stash guys. Me, I'm looking at guys that can actually help you this week if you want. Chances are you're probably not going to use them. It's still pretty early. But who knows? Stranger things have happened. So
yeah, I go for the stash play. I mean, look, this is your last chance to grab a guy who after week 1 or 2 is probably going to be one of those guys who gets added by like 70% of leagues.
It's a great idea actually for a segment. If we had time to do it, Brian, I'd say let's pull the trigger on this. Every week, let's look ahead another week and say, who's a guy we can pick up now that you'll want?
Ooh, the crystal ball segment.
Crystal ball. There you go. Who can sponsor that? The bargain bins don't have a sponsor either, by the way. So one quarterback, one running back, one pass catcher. And we'll begin at the quarterback position. Brian, who's your bargain bin? Quarterback,
Deshaun Kaiser. Stash him. Look, Coach Hugh Jackson said he will have a long leash as a starting quarterback. And Kaiser isn't afraid to make a decision. He was very decisive this preseason. He did not hesitate, and he played quarterback. So the confidence of the head coach, I think if he has a decent game against Pittsburgh, I'm not saying he's going 350 and bonkers. If he has a decent game against Pittsburgh, I think you're going to start to see people start to add him slowly because to me, he could be that young Cam Newton coming right out of the league, just lighting things up with his feet. Until he gets a concussion, then they'll back off. But.
Yeah, not nearly as big as Cam. Cam, I mean, there's nobody built like that guy. But Deshaun Kaiser got a little bit of size to him. Sure, he's got some speed, some quickness with his feet. Yeah, he can do it. I mean, who knows? That's actually not a bad stash. My bargain bin is a guy who actually can help you this week. Sam Bradford, Minnesota, especially for those scrambling to fill the quarterback position after the news of Tampa and Miami postponing their week 1 matchup. Take a good look at Bradford. He's owned in less than 20% of Yahoo leagues right now. He'll be taking on the Saints, ranked dead last in yards to opposing passers in 2016. They gave away 27 passing scores. Knowing that game flow will likely dictate more passing from the Vikings to keep pace with a potentially high-scoring New Orleans offense, I think you got to love Sam as kind of a dart throw this week. Who's your running back?
Latavius Murray. I am astounded that he is only about 40% owned. The what-ifs on Dalvin Cook are worth watching this guy and noting. Look, if you have a deep bench spot, why do you not grab a backup running back to a rookie? Because the what-ifs are there. Let's say Dalvin Cook just can't keep up with the pace of the game at full speed. He fumbles a couple of times. Boom, right to the bench. You're sitting there with Latavius Murray, so a guy like you who just drafted Dalvin Cook is going, crap, I need Latavius Murray. Let me go to the waiver. Oh, are you kidding me?
Listen, we don't even know what Latavius Murray's role is going to be. He could be the goal line back there.
Yeah.
He could get all those Matt Asiata carries inside the 5-yard line from last season.
Yep.
So, and Lord knows he did it last year. He scored 12 touchdowns in Oakland. So, yeah, Murray's a great guy to grab. I can't believe he's not more owned. That's for sure. Rex Burkhead's my bargain bin at the running back. Admittedly, it's a completely on gut here. Okay, I'm just going to admit that to you. But I think Burkhead will ultimately end up being the next LeGarrette Blount in the Patriots' high-octane offense. Kansas City ranked 26th in terms of yardage allowed to opposing backs in 2016. And though I think Brady will be slinging the rock all over the place in tonight's game, I think there will be enough fantasy production to go around, even in the backfield. So what did Mike Gillislee you say? Well, I don't know. I'm just saying I think Rex Burkhead is going to ultimately become the guy that you'll want to own. How about a pass catcher from you, Brian?
Wide receiver Paul Richardson. In a surprising move, Tyler Lockett is listed with the second team, meaning that Richardson is opposite of Baldwin and Jimmy Graham. This could be a sneak snag as he is only allowed in 6% of leagues. There is a number 2 wide receiver on a passing team that is virtually unowned right now.
I'll see your 6%. You ready for what could be the ultimate dart throw? Owned in only 1% of Yahoo leagues right now. Slot guy Seth Roberts was very, very quietly one of the NFL's most efficient red zone targets for quarterback Derek Carr in Oakland. You're not banking on volume here. That's for Cooper and Crabtree. You're banking on a score if you throw this dart. And Roberts was good for 5 of them last season, 3 of those in the first 4 games of the year. Oh, and by the way, Tennessee was one of the worst pass defenses in the league last year. So Seth Roberts, I like him as a dart throw. There you have it.
Boom.
All right, another quick item. We are kicking off week 1 of the NFL season, but also the inaugural 515 Fantasy Football Listener League, which is presented by Iowa Firecracken. Iowa owned, Iowa operated, America approved. Write it down on your calendar. Talk to Siri. Have her make an appointment for you. December 1st here in Iowa. Fireworks are on sale again, Brian.
Yeah, so that actually kind of leads right into my flea flicker conversation.
Very nice.
I'm talking to you, City of West Des Moines.
Mm-hmm.
This proposed ban of outright fireworks being let off in your city, you allowed them for 6 hours, fine. But let's think this through. It said the majority of citizens want these banned. But when you read it, it was like a war zone in West Des Moines. Now, wait a second. If the majority of citizens don't want it, but clearly the majority of citizens were letting them off, somebody's lying here. So what is it? So you mean to tell me you have a noise ordinance starting at 10 o'clock so I could put up the biggest Pioneer speakers on my deck and crank rap music or death metal or whatever I want as loud as I want until 10 o'clock, I hit pause. I can do that 365 days a year, but for 1 day a year, you're telling me that I can't set off fireworks? Eat it. I'm going to be there December 1. I'm going to buy tons of stuff, and I'm just going ham on this because I only need about 15 minutes to light a ton of stuff off. And she'll be like, yeah, I don't know. Some dude just let them off in the middle of the street. I don't know what happened.
It's a good thing you're not a West Des Moines resident, Brian.
No.
I do have a beef with that.
I'm just going to drive over there and drive around, drop them out of my car, and just light cakes and throw them out my car. And
I swear, all people in West Des Moines do is complain. That's just how it is. Sorry. I've lived here long enough to be able to say that, I think. So, yeah. Oh, you'll like the fact that Iowa Firecracken are run by 3 local dudes, Brian. 3 local guys. I love supporting local businesses, especially when I can, meet the guy, shake his hand, talk football. They're football fans, just like we are. And we're looking forward to whooping up on Matt, by the way, in the Listener League. So,
chump.
So thank you, Matt, for coming on board. Remember, December 1st, sales of all beautiful things that go boom. Once again, open to Iowans of all shapes and sizes. We hope you'll consider Iowa Firecracken. So we got a few minutes left here. Little bargain bin's in the rear view now, so a little flea flicker action, Brian. What else you got?
God dang, what else made me mad recently?
Does it have to be something that made you mad? Why can't it be something that makes you happy, man?
Oh, so my non-poker playing friend won a poker tournament this weekend. That was pretty cool. That made me happy. He beat out some pretty good players, and they were super mad, and they didn't believe he doesn't play poker that much. So
is it a high-stakes thing?
No, it wasn't really, but it was just kind of a tournament format. So,
ooh.
Go ahead.
I got something now.
Okay.
But I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, that's it.
Just trying to be nice. Daily fantasy. Okay? It's not legal here in Iowa.
No.
Which I think is complete crap.
It's garbage.
Complete crap. Because they consider it gambling. And unless you're grandfathered in, you can't do any gambling here in Iowa. And the reason why is because there are certain people that want to get their grubby hands on some money.
That's exactly why.
Basically. Okay? So it's happening all over the country where they're trying to shut down daily fantasy all the time. But there's only a few states, that they don't allow it.
It's like 6, I think.
Yeah, and we're one of them, of course. But I've become a really big fan of the art of projecting daily fantasy. I've actually gotten really good at it in practice. I can't actually do it because it's illegal here, but I can put it into practice and sort of like try to project things and put together lineups and go, how did that do? It's fun.
What you need to do is you need to have a friend in another state run your account for you.
No, I've heard. I know people that do things like that.
But here's my thing. Why does the government always tell me how I can and can't spend my money? I am an adult. I make money. I pay taxes, so I can spend my money however I want to.
Same reason they want to run your health insurance and everything else, Brian.
It's stupid.
They would love to run.
I can literally spend my money on whatever I want to.
They would love to run every aspect of your life. That's the answer.
They have nothing against me taking out every dime I own, going out to Prairie Meadows and dropping it on black and it hitting red and I'm completely broke. But they won't let me enter a $5 daily fantasy tournament. What sense does that make?
I'm just saying.
Oh,
I need a friend. Are there any legislators of any kind listening to this show? If you are, get in touch with me. I want to go on a campaign. I want to do that. We can start on the radio. We have the airwaves. I want to talk about what crap it is that we're being held back from having some fun. We should be able to have maximum amount of fun. I love year-long, season-long fantasy, but daily fantasy should be a part of our landscape, damn it. And that's all I got to say about
Iowa
that.
Firecracking to make me some of them Roman candle cannons that I can hold like guns and shoot them off. That'll be cool.
Let's call Matt. We can get that done.
Custom order. Let's do it.
All right, that's it for this edition. It was a fun one today. Thanks for listening. For Brian Eikenberry, I'm Andy Hall. This is 515 Fantasy Football.